Okay. Hello. How is everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. I know you see only my hands in these videos. I really am not sophisticated at making these things, even though I bought that thing and it's supposed to help me a little bit. I realize that my videos leave an awful lot to be desired, but these are aimed at pianists, in some cases reluctant pianists, people who are new at playing for church, like I was many years ago. And it seems like I've only developed these ideas in the past 10 years, primarily by playing at St. Vincent's every single Sunday, St. Vincent's Hospital with Jackie Dicey. I've learned a lot from her. So anyway, I feel like it's my time to share some of these things with you and some of my discoveries. Okay, so pianists, have you ever tried to play a traditional hymn and then tried to improvise on the traditional hymn only to find that the harmonic meter is too fast to improvise on it well? Harmonic meter is the speed with which chords change underneath a melody. It has nothing to do with how fast the piece of music goes, but it has everything to do with how quickly the chords change. In rock music, they don't change very quickly, so you can improvise, and actually in a lot of styles of music. Many times in church music, however, you get a chord change on every single melody note. It makes it very hard to get out of the realm of the harmonic meter and make that piece of music your own. Well, anyway, I've been working hard to try to do that kind of thing because I like to improvise on traditional hymns because I believe it connects people with their past, with their their shared religious experiences with ancestors too. That's the beauty of hymns. And if you do play in a church, I encourage you to explore hymns very deeply. Hymns are the language of the church, and they're the most important gift that we can pass on. They don't seem to have the same type of expiration date that praise and worship music does. But they seem to be timeless. So that's why when you look down at the bottom of a hymn, it will frequently say, harmonized by Johann Kruger in 1524 or something like that. And we're still using that piece of music 500 solid years later. 500 years later. Are we still going to be singing, Lord, I lift your name on high in 500 years? I dare say no. Okay, so anyway, here's what I've discovered about the hymn tune, Lift High the Cross. Here's the melody. The first thing I do when I'm improvising is I play the melody as starkly as possible, right? That gives me an idea of where the piece of music is going. And then I might try to put a chord with beat one of every measure. I realize I'm adding some extra notes in there, and you might want to know what they are. Okay, so here's what I've discovered. And on Ash Wednesday, I ran out of music to play during the procession of the ashes. And so I opened my hymnal. It opened to Lift High the Cross, which was a great choice for Ash Wednesday. However, I didn't want to just play it in the typical way you would play it if you were reading music. So this is what came to me, and amazingly, I can still remember it. And that's usually not the case with my improvs. There's my refrain. There's my harmonization on the refrain. It was D, A, C sharp, and then some other, whatever else I can squeeze in there. You know I like a lot of notes in my chords. I'll frequently just let my hands fall on the keyboard. I know that sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I'll just let my hands fall on the keyboard based on muscle memory. And I hate to say it, but beautiful things come out. You know, I've just been playing so long, guys. It'll happen to you too. And it's not that I practice and learn a whole lot of new music all the time. I tend to stick with the old stuff, like the well-tempered clavier, and right here I have Schubert impromptus and Beethoven sonatas and stuff like that, because ultimately that's where your good technique comes from, is pushing yourself farther than is easy for you, right? That's where your good technique comes from. Okay, so anyway, now this verse, terribly fast harmonic meter, terribly fast. So this is what I suggest you do. One chord at the beginning of each measure, and that's it. And take out as many notes as you can while still leaving some semblance of major or minor. Let me say that again. Play one chord at the beginning of each measure with enough notes to suggest whether it's major or minor, but nothing extra. Now that's a Derek chord right there. It's just, I just moved the B down to the A to give it a little sexiness, if you will. And I'm gonna do a saucier. Now, I'm gonna do a contemporary F major. Here's that verse again. Now, automatically I want to move up here because I want to get that music box kind of sound. Right? Again, as few chords as I can. Right? Nice little roll. A little more color here. Here comes my F major. Dicey. I do play wrong notes from time to time. Probably in literally every single improv that I do. I play wrong notes. I'll tell you what my favorite professor, Harold Rolig, would do. And he would play wrong notes too. He would play wrong notes in the middle of a fugue, and he would use that wrong note to launch into an improvisation. And sometimes he would even trill the wrong note so that, trill it so that the listener was like, wow, okay, he must have meant to do that. That must not be a wrong note. He was very, very sneaky about that. So I'll give you an example. Here's the very next hymn in here. One of my favorites. Actually, let's speed it up. Totally derail yourself if you didn't have a backup plan for when you hit that wrong note. If I hit it there, I might be tempted to go minor, right? There we go. Now that was nasty, right? But anyway, I came up with at least some way to get out of that foul note that I hit. Okay, so here's the other thing. Final little bit of advice. I've got some rice cooking in here, and so that's why I'm in here recording, because I just got 25 minutes or something to blow. When you do hit a wrong note, or when your ideas stop, you need something in your arsenal to reach into and get. If it's a bitonal passage, in other words, if it's 2 chords, if it's maybe only 1 chord, there will be times in your improvisations when that well of ideas suddenly stops. You'll get distracted, or you'll suddenly become self-aware, or something will get in your way and the ideas will stop flowing. You need something in your bag of tricks that you can fall back on. It used to be, for me, I would get myself into D major. So if I was in a key that was awkward for me, and there's still bunches of keys that are awkward for me. E major is one. I realized I got out of E major fast. In fact, I'm not really in it, am I? Okay, so then I would find a way to get to, how am I going to get to D? That was a terrible way to get to D. I love these 2 chords. D major in G minor. And you can extend it as long as you need. Until another idea flows your way. Anyway, the point in all that is that the trick to improvisation is to forget about yourself, concentrate not so much on the sounds you're making, but on the sensation of making the sounds. So think about the muscle memory involved in changing from chord to chord. Don't forget your basics of theory, like the circle of fifths, and always think what comes after this chord. Always think 1 chord ahead so that you won't get trapped and not know where you're going to go. The other final bit of advice is remember what key you start in. That sounds kind of basic, but you better remember what key you start in. So that's why, as an improviser, I generally like to start in a few keys in particular. I like F sharp as a key. It's a lot of fun. I like B minor as a key. I like E flat as a key. You know what? Let me do one more thing for you before I let you go, okay? This is Shall We Gather at the River in E flat. Surprised you with that C, didn't I? I love using ostinato basses. Little shape note sound, little drone and hammer. Now I've committed to that 6th sound. lot. One more. B flat or G? Let's go B flat. I've got to have the F. And the reason I have to have the F is because at the very beginning of that piece of music, I introduced an idea where I had that F in there, right? And I don't want that to go away. Okay, so it's a musical sin to introduce a motif too late in an improvisation. Like maybe you've played through a piece of music that is completely, what's the word, diatonic. It doesn't have any, I hate to say the word sexy again, but any sexiness to it, any contrived chord progressions or anything. It's just perfectly, it's just completely diatonic. You know, and then at the end, they'll go, and you're like, well, okay, you just introduced an add 9. You had no add 9s anywhere else in your piece of music, and then all of a sudden you decided to add 9 at the very, very end. So it's out of context with the whole piece. Likewise, if you started out as I did with something different, right? You need to make sure that comes back. Maybe not all the time, but just enough to say, hey, this is an idea. Good night, everybody. I hope you have a good evening. And I think things are getting better around the world, right? I'm starting to feel like it. I think things are getting better. God bless you all. Keep praying for one another and keep loving one another. It's the language of the world. It's the most important thing we can do. Love one another. Bye.